Here we go. One of the things I love about this room, Sherry, is that it has a very informal and casual feel because it's a room of friends, and I never know who's coming, and I'm always happy to celebrate whoever shows up, and I'm blessed that people want to be here in the morning and listen to what I consider to be a message of wisdom, some love, some understanding, and some community. And whether it be small or large, it always depends on, the time of the day or the message. But no matter, I find that the room just brings people together in the most beautiful ways. And so today will be no different. I am honored to have a new friend, Sherry Ray, in the room. And Sherry and I, hello, beautiful. Sherry and I met, we met because I was creeping on her, as a lot of us can do. I was creeping her information and her website because sometimes I just let my GPS, my inner GPS, guide me to people's energy. And Sherry's energy at the 3PGC, or was it 3PUK, was so soft and so unique and so full of what I call tangible information for me, where the message was about things that were really speaking to me, speaking to what I was going through, speaking to things I've experienced before. And I was hearing her talk about insecurities. And I thought, what a great conversation. And then moving a little bit more forward, as I was listening a little bit more to some of the stuff and being invited to her room and listening to things around memories and how they impact, where we're going, whether it be a memory of grief or maybe it's a memory of a wedding or pleasantries or a child's graduation, or and how they impact and can be in our thought patterns and creating circumstances for us in beautiful ways and sometimes ways that we might want to see difference and change. And so I was listening in on that one, and it just became this beautiful feeling for me. And so I reached out to Sherry and I said, hi, you don't know me, but I know you because you've landed in my heart and I would love to have a conversation. And so we did. And I learned a little bit more about you and about your offerings in the world, and some of the real-time conversations that you were having with the people that love you, the people that I consider, I won't say follow, but they connect so deeply with you like I did. And so today we're here to hear a little bit more. And Sherry asked me yesterday, she had a great question. It was such a good, what's alive in conversation, she said.
Mm.
And first I got to ask you, where did you come up with that question? That was just so awesome.
Well, I this week I taught a class at the Young Center of Houston, and you have to submit these classes like 6 months in advance, 8 months in advance, and so by the time the class got around, I was like, that seems like such old news. I mean, because it was 6 or 8 months ago. It was still, I mean, it worked out and it was a great class and I could get my head in those tracks, and then I was like going, wow, what is it like to have a textbook? How stale is that information, as it pertains to life in real time and what's alive for people right now? And I'm going, golly. So that's what kind of just was on my mind about what's really alive for you or for anybody, and let's talk about that.
Yeah. And I love the question. And, I was standing in my kitchen, and you know how we do things these days. I don't know about you guys, but everything's sort of like text or via messenger or some sort of, so we're going back and forth. And my beautiful friend Meg is in the room, and she has an eloquence with words and typing, and there's never, ever, ever any mistakes. And so I'm thinking of Meg, and we were just texting at the same time. So I'm like, Kelly, go back and check what you said. Make sure it doesn't have any errors in it. You don't want to be sending Sherry some, muck, right? So I stopped for a minute and I paused and I thought, yeah, what is alive? And the things that came is I do hear a lot about insecurities, my own included. and the growth that some of this understanding has um, moved me to in seeing who I am and who the people that I meet are, and how the message of um, what people are putting out, like why I lean into one or the other. And so we just talked about, yeah, what's alive. And so, Sherry, I think it's a great way to begin the conversation. And this platform in this room and these friends of mine are here for you. So, however you'd like to begin is completely up to you, and in what way you'd like to do that, I'm all for.
Well, anything works for me. So if anybody has questions at any time, raise your hand, and or anything that's alive on your head, and we both Kelly and I can address it. We can give you two spins on the same topics. I think, which is always interesting to reinforce that whole reality of separate realities. What Kelly would offer and what I would offer, just depending on what you see. I just don't think that can be reinforced enough. That, gosh, how you see it. There's nothing wrong with how you see it. Just it doesn't need to match anybody else's. So anytime anybody has questions, I think that would be great just to throw it up into the conversation if that works for you.
Yeah, that does. And I think a lot of people sometimes my mind takes a minute to process to catch up with the questions like, "Oh, that was really good." And then I just sit there. And I've often said this is why may not make a perfect host or interviewer or whatever, because I'm like, I'm caught in the conversation. I'm just feeling the moment. But maybe you could give the room a little bit of some insights to who you are and what you do, where you're from, and share with them a little bit about you. Because oftentimes I bring these beautiful people like yourself, and they're like, "So who's this? Okay, I'll come." And they have no idea who you are. It's like, this is some woman from Texas I'm going to listen to. I don't know who she is. So, it's always good to give some reference. So maybe we can begin there. And I often butcher the bio. It doesn't really go,
Oh gosh, they're so boring. They're so written,
aren't they?
They're
Aren't
so
they?
written. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll turn it over to you for now, and I'll turn my mic.
Okay. Well, I bumped into the principals like in 2013, and got impacted kind of crazily. I wasn't looking for them, and they found me. And so since 2013, I've done lots of internships and mentorships with the Pransky. So the Pranskys have been kind of I'll say my 3P family, because they're basically the ones that I've done my most intense work with over these however many years it is. And what my work is all about, what even is why I even do this work, is because it it eliminated so much struggle in my own life. And so that's exactly what I do. I teach people how to eliminate struggle in their lives and or businesses, and to really find how to live with joy and peace with all the things you can't change. And that seems to be a growing list. It looks like to me in our world, that there's less and less you really have impact on to control. So that's what my work is all about. And I am based in Houston, Texas, which is way far south. And I just love the work. I just love the work. I'm as big a student of it as anybody in this room, but it's because it creates such an impact on me.
So if there was a conversation that was alive for you um, right now, what would that be?
Oh my gosh, the most alive thing, and this is it woke me up in the middle of the night, and it was just echoing in my head, because and let me see how the words came to me. Mind or intuition, whatever, has such a sense of humor for me. It comes up, it gives me song lyrics or title of a movie or something, and then I just kind of live in it, and it reveals more. But let's see, how did it come? How did it come? Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. It was like, don't let your history kill the mystery of life. That's what came to me. Don't let your personal history kill the mystery of life. And so that's what was woke me up, and it was like, wow, if we really could reformat this disc in our head, to really wake up more clear minded and independent minded, and we didn't have a personal history, would we be more open to this incredible mystery of life that unfolds for us and teaches us and leads us, shows us the way. We allow it to follow. But I just think so much of our personal thinking contaminates being open to that wisdom, to relax into that wisdom, and which would point us back to insecurities. We take so much of our insecure thinking seriously. Only, don't we all? Don't we all? But the truth is, it's like when I was talking about personal history, kill the mystery. It was like we've had insecurities in our life that, because they've been in our life so long, they look like they're real because we've had them in our pocket for so long. But they were never us to start out with. But we certainly, we certainly get stopped by them, I guess is one way of saying it.
Yeah.
Well,
No,
that's what's most alive for me. That personal history, don't let it kill the mystery. That we are safe, we are okay. We do have what it takes to navigate life. It's kind of crazy to think we don't, because we're here. We made it this far.
oh, yeah, sometimes I look at that like, what do you think was going on this whole time, Kelly? Like, you've all this evolution, growth, understanding, and even what we were sharing today about going to the Fairy Islands and what I saw there, and the things that have fallen away since that. And it's like, but in the face of, oh God, what am I going to say to Sherry? Like, oh my, okay, I gotta quickly, get in the room, and then I started talking with my microphone off, and that feeling of like, you had mentioned something. I was listening to something that you had done earlier on about, here I am double dipping. It's one thing to, I'm thinking about the conversation I'm going to have with you, and then I'm getting insecure about, what I need to say in the conversation. And we're
Yes.
talking about insecurities, like, yeah. Can you shed a little light on the conversation that you had around, you know, all that we've been, all that we've been up to this point? At every moment we had, an aha or a turn or a shift, or in COVID a pivot, if you will, and and yet at times people sit in front of their experiences and think, oh yeah, I can't do this. This one's too big. This one's way too big. What about that?
Well, you know, in the don't let your history, you know, kill the mystery. It's like we think we need, we really think as human beings, I need to know what the outcome is. And that by some great fiction writing, we can create the outcome and know what it's going to be. And it's fiction because it isn't hasn't even occurred. So that the our mind runs forward and tells us what it's going to take, how long it's going to take, what it's going to take from me. It's going to be hard. It's going to be this. It's going to be that, and we fall back in our history and go, well, I don't know. My fifth grade teacher told me engineering's not for me. Can't do it. I mean, that's one little small example of how we get so attached to outcome versus kind of leaning into the mystery of following an inspiration and giving up the outcome. I don't think anybody was ever taught to give up the outcome,
No.
but to really take the invitation to engage with inspiration, because there was so much of your self-worth as a human being was attached to if you met that goal, if you reached that pinnacle. And it's like, well, that can be a complete buzzkill, boring adventure. You don't get to even slow down and enjoy and look around and follow moment to moment crumbs of the next step, because the mind's already told you what it's going to take to accomplish it, and you don't even know that's why you what that inspiration is for. It gets so limited by thinking we know why we need to do that. We know why we whatever your inspiration might be. Cook a meal, or write a book, or go on to online dating, whatever it is. we think it, we think we can leap forward for the outcome, and then of course we feel insecure because all of that thinking just kind of gets activated like a mushroom cloud. Anytime we're kind of stepping into the unknown as human beings, it does stimulate a lot of thinking. But that with the principles, what's so great is that yeah, we're going to step in it, fall in it, our insecure thinking. But the more we realize that there's an option not to, there's an option not to take all that mushroom cloud of thought seriously. I might take it seriously, but I also know that can't be the absolute truth. Or can there even be any truth in that? But you fall asleep and you get amnesia and you believe everything your mind tells you, especially when you're stepping into that unknown. But if you can go and move into the unknown, like going, I don't know. I don't know what the outcome's going to be, and I don't know what the next 4 steps are, but I do know what the next step is right here. So if you can get comfortable with just taking 1 step at a time, do it. So take the next step. It will come, kind of like whatever it was, Hansel and Gretel going down the path, 1 crumb at a time. It will come. But can you just be more comfortable with not knowing what direction you're going? And then I'll say, to me, total universe is open to you that you never knew were possible, that your history would never even let you consider.
I think return on investment. I think I don't know if we're mapped out or that's just been the marketing of things, or if I just had that in my family dynamic. I don't know, but it was like uh, it was almost ingrained that you're going to do this, you're going to miss the entire journey, and you're going to get here. And there's no I have to say, last night I was in a yoga class, and I was in a low mood yesterday, after doing a lot of computer work, and there was a mid time in the day, and it was like, okay, I have to wait to go to this yoga class, and of course the night was crazy and the wind and everything, and do I want to go out, whatever, and that, oh, anyway, finally get myself there, and I'm proud of myself. I'm standing outside, I'm proud of myself, and I'm out there. But I realized one thing that happened in that yoga class. I wasn't connected to a return on investment. I didn't even know what was going to happen. I haven't been to yoga in 2 years. So this was the first class going back for since COVID. And, there's all these rules around the class. Anyway, we got in, and I'm familiar with the instructor. And, she had us, the tape was on the floor so you could put your mat, to be COVID safe and everything. And I realized for some reason there, unlike anywhere else, like rather than like that's personal, let's say, and rather than business, there I could just lie there on the floor, and she would say what we're going to do, and then I would do it, and I wouldn't know what's coming next, and then she would say what we're going to do, and I was just living it moment to moment. And when it was done, I walked up to her and said, I just love you. I just love you. But really, you know, I was projecting out the love that I had for myself, and because I was living it, I call it wonder to wonder. I wonder what we're going to do next. Oh, I wonder what we're going to do, and then we all just closed the room, and I got in my car and I drove home, and the stillness, right? But I realized that I was living it in the wonder. And I don't know, question for you, do you see this, this life? I was very much on the ROI. I'm going to build this business. It's a brick and mortar. I'm going to put all this, I know exactly how much I'm going to spend. I'm going to take this much time to build it. It's going to open on such and such a day. And my return is going to be that everybody's going to come, and and this is how I lived my life. I did not sit in wonder. I didn't live any of the journey.
Hmm.
How do you see that? How do you is it just what do you see as, and I don't know. I don't know. Does anybody else has anybody else lived an experience like that? Am I the only one in the room? I'd love to know, yeah, because it's it is in the journey that I'm seeing this experience now. This understanding is showing me that I missed a lot of my life. There was a lot of living that was just running at the speed of Kelly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
And I don't know. It looks to me like our life path is more valued. And I don't know if this is true, and don't take my word for anything, but it looks like, somehow along the way, we indigenous people absolutely lived from mind. Indigenous people lived by the sun. They went to high ground when they sensed floods were coming. I mean, all this stuff. And then some part of our evolution, we really started to value our personal intellect and developing our personal intellect and valuing that way over um, present moment connected to life. We had all these models for building a business. We had all these models for generating a business plan and this and that. I mean, we have all of that intellectual knowledge that, all well meaning, we gathered in order to be a greater success in whatever endeavor we wanted to do. But I think we kind of parked the intuitive side or the following mind side, parked it and got just to your point, Kelly. It's like it's so much easier to go to a yoga class and just let somebody lead us, because it's like, great, you do it. But how come we have such a challenge allowing our intuition or our mind to take the lead? you know we get this skepticism of thought that comes in there and really suggests that, boy, that's a wild hair. Why should on earth should I follow that? Because I can't find it and match it to anything that relates to success historically or from my intellect or what the culture says. And I think we kind of lost that. But I think people are hungry for real life in real time and real connection to life, especially it looks like to me COVID. People want to be connected to life and
Mhm.
not to concepts and ideas about how they need to live, but they really want to be connected to life in real time.
Mhm. Yeah.
It's all well meaning, you know what I mean? We just did what we did. I love that example, like medicine, I mean, 50 years ago, people just did what made sense then. It's like, great. You wouldn't do it now in the same way because the field of medicine has evolved, but can't even our own guidance systems evolve? Going, wait a minute, I don't need to take a, a stranger's opinion out of a book unless it resonates with me and I want to give it a try. Great and wonderful. But I don't want to negate something that's kind of knocking on my door because it doesn't match what is in that textbook.
Hmm.
And we just assume they know more than us. And it's like, great, they may know more than us about brain surgery, but I'm not doing brain surgery. I'm trying to follow my own path and what makes sense to me in building the life in a feeling I want to live in. I think that's the part for me, is like building a life in the feeling I want to live in. Because it's not about the accoutrements or circumstances. It's like, when nothing else is around, what's the feeling I'm living in? And I see that we have the opportunity to exercise free will to choose what we think into when we can.
Hmm.
And when we can't, we can't. But no big deal. Don't take any of it too seriously. You know?
Wonder to wonder, moment to moment.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. I
I,
love that feeling. One time, once it was like, well, how do you know if it's not going to work out? And it was like, well, what if you knew you'd be okay on however it worked out? And I was like, whoa, that's a fresh place to sit. That you have resilience and you have your inner wisdom and knowledge, and something else will occur to you. And I was like, I didn't know you could go through life like that, that you don't have to worry about outcome. You're good no matter what. You're responsive and receptive. You're good no matter what.
mhm.
that took a bunch of fear off the table for me.
Yeah, I like that. I remember sitting in a room with Jamie Smart one time, and the same question came up posed, you know, the what if it doesn't work out? And he goes, "Well, I got some news for you. It may not." And the person looked at, and he goes, "And you know, that's okay because whatever that is guiding you to what will."
Yep.
And that it's like those experiences that that you know we put all our effort and investment on, or all our thinking on, or whatever, and we're looking for a specific outcome. He says, you know, that's when we're making it bigger than it is. You know, it's just this circumstance that you know we, we all are going to face experiences that may or may not work out, but either way, we're okay.
Either way, we're okay. And I would say in the last year and a half, I've had lots, way more than what I would have chosen, situations brought into my life that I never was never even I they were devastating, and I never could have imagined. And it was like, so when those things show up in your life and you're like, wait a minute, I I never saw this coming. I never imagined it could happen. But then something helps you navigate through those devastating experiences. And then to me, that's where the mystery comes going, whoa. If you had asked me if I would have survived that, I'd have said, no, I'll be in a fetal position in the corner. I'm not that kind of person. I don't have what it takes. But if you can just do it in the moment, step by step, step by step, with the feeling that I don't need to know what I'm going to do, but I do know that if I show up where I'm being called, if I show up, something is going to occur to me. I don't know what it is, but something's going to occur to me. And I was like, wow, that was like, okay, but I don't have to know how to navigate this. And I just show up, something's going to occur to me. That looked more true to me, because nobody knows how things are going to work out, or things are going to, all the independent variables and moving parts of life. Nobody knows how things are going to play out.
Yeah. The key word there for me was show up.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
I think Sid is always pointing to, and I've always heard this message, and you know, whether it be silent or, and I didn't see it, it just floated past me, or whether it was like, yeah, are you hearing this? Was that place where we fear our experiences. Life is just offering us experiences to play and enjoy and venture into. And I'm like, no, oh no, 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 I can't go do that. Like, and I remember some of the experiences I used to, you know, fall away from was just like, I mean, as easy as it was to go to a cocktail party.
Yes.
You know, like on Monday,
Yes.
I'm all in. Yeah, sure, I can go to a cocktail party. But by Friday, my thinking has taken me right out of it. Like, I don't even want to go. It's like that's the last place I want to be. And I take myself out, or did. It did take myself out. And and Sid always was saying, like, if we can just begin to let go of the fear around our experiences, life is always offering opportunity.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's in that divine place of opportunity that we can dance in wonderment. Like, what is this for me? What do I have to see? What do I have to learn here? And what, you know, I've been called the turtle in my life, you know, where I'll poke my head out and I'll be like, okay, here's Sherry. And then it's like, you know, I'm back in the, you know, the shell. It's like, don't point at me. Don't look. I'll just stand over here in the corner. You know, and that's that place where, you know, some of that thinking has been falling away. And just being able, by listening to yourself and some of the other people that share this understanding, you know, every time I listen, I have new ears to it.
Me too.
Yeah.
Me too. I think something else gets awakened on the inside. It's not even anything to do with their words, but something wakes up inside that is relevant and pertinent to my life.
Even in the smallest decisions, yeah, even in the smallest ways, um, whatever they are, it doesn't matter. Like, I was buying a duvet the other day. What color? Even in the smallest ways, playfully looking. Oh, let's put that on the bed and have a look. People are in the store like, what are you doing? I'm opening it up and fun because I want the visual effect. I want to see the whole picture. And just, yeah, playing in the experience for sure. For sure.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, how does it feel? Should we open up the room, see a,
Sure,
yeah,
sure. I'd love to hear if anybody heard anything or has a question or even something that's cooking in your world.
yeah. I always like that. Yeah, Judy, go ahead. Hi, hon. You're on mute, sweetie. You're on mute. There she is. Oh no. Do you have an external speaker, dude? If you do, you might want to. Oh, there you are. Come a
Oh,
little
sorry,
closer.
maybe
There. There you go.
when you were talking about Sid, I just was reading a book, I think it was his earlier ones, and when he was talking about his epiphany, and he said the first thing that came to him, he said when he felt he was home, he said, there is no such thing as insecurities. It's all in our minds, it's all in our thinking. There's no such thing as insecurities. It's all how we look at it and how we approach it, right? It's like a big puzzle. You just have to put the pieces together. You don't have to fear it.
Yeah.
And that kind of hit home for me. That just seemed to make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is that really. I think it's that if 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 we didn't, if we just could sit in the discomfort of that feeling. I'm like you. No, there's no such thing as insecurity, but we flee from that discomfort because it's just an uncomfortable feeling. Then we think it must be something real here to fear, other than just a bad feeling or a feeling that's not invited to my party, kind of a thing.
Exactly. Yeah, for sure. For
I
sure.
I just wanted to share something that I've been hearing, Sherry and Kelly, and I realized it's also a matter of what am I identifying with.
Mhm.
Because if I'm identifying with my thinking, that's just a wild ride, because it's changing all the time.
Hmm.
So if I'm identifying with something that is ever changing, I'm gonna be, up and down, north and south, all of that. But when I identify with the deeper aspect of myself, that the part that is stable, the part that is always the same, then I can get some sort of gap between me and my thinking and just see it for, because the identified part gets really invested. And the more invested I am, the more I'm gonna think, and it's just it puts me off, to be honest.
Mhm.
And that's the part that I've been kind of stepping back a little bit and just and that's where I see what Judy was saying, that insecurity is just a reaction. The feelings of insecurity is reactions to thinking and identifying with that thinking more than anything else.
Hmm.
Mm. And it feels so real. I'm going through some insecure things this week, and it's like, oh my God, it just feels so real. Like my life is at stake, I'm exaggerating, but the feeling of panic, the feeling of unsafety
Hmm.
is just really strong. Mm. So at the moment, what I'm doing with that is I'm just seeing it and letting it be and doing nothing with it, especially not thinking about it. So if you have anything to say to that, to how the feelings, when you get hit by something in your body feels like fight or flight, feels all the chemical, I don't know what it is, adrenaline, maybe someone knows, the physiology gets affected by our thinking. So yeah, how to, well, I guess it's just being with that. But if you have anything around that.
Well, and we know that our feeling state is funded, as I can't think of another word, funded by my mindset or my state of mind.
Mm.
It's coming from nowhere else, nowhere else. Whether even I even know what's on my mind or not, it's our we live in the feeling. This is Sid Banks' quote. We live in the feeling of our thinking. We live in the feeling of our thinking. We live in the feeling of our thinking. It's like, how many times did I hear that? Until recently, I was like, oh, oh, well, why am I over there thinking about that? I don't need to control my thinking. I don't need to try to, monitor it or anything like that. But it's like when you really start to see that the feelings that you have, you're living in the feeling of your thinking. I think for me, it just helps me not go as far down the road until I do. And so what? It's human, And it's like, but that incredible wisdom we possess wakes us up, and you know, those like those bumper strips on the what do they call those rumble strips or whatever on the highway where you get over there and hit them and you bump 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 and it's like no go back inside the lane of traffic because it's just to me a part of the human condition that we're going to think into our thinking. And then it starts to be like those like a sponge almost, those sponge creatures you used to have where they were in a capsule and then you put water on them and then they blew up to be dragons and all that stuff. It's the same thing with our thinking, it's all they're encapsulated until we think into them and then the water hits them and then they're formidable opponents that we have to address, and it's like no, I could look away from all that.
I like the visual because it makes it less threatening.
Yeah.
You got a dinosaur, but it's made of foam.
Yes, nothing to be feared. Yes, that's true.
That's very helpful. Yeah.
Anna, I took a trip recently, and I was in the Faroe Islands, and we were talking about before the room started, and there came a point where the first flight turned around and had to go back, and that created some feelings in me. And then when I finally arrived the very next day to arrive from the Faroe Islands to Copenhagen, all of my flights had been missed. And in that, I had a whole bunch of thinking going on. And then I went to the counter and they said, oh, you're going to have to buy a whole new ticket because, it wasn't our fault we missed. And then I had even more thinking going on. And then, and then when they said to me, well, just go sit down and we'll figure something out. So they sat me down for an hour as I was in my thinking. And I believed it all to be true. And it was creating a real physical experience in me. And by the time, then finally when the guy called me up to the counter, he said, yeah, we're gonna take that, the purchasing a new ticket off the plate. We're gonna give you a ticket, but you have to stay here for 2 more days. Well, by this point, I believed everything in my being was out of a line. Like I was having a physical rejection to the experiences that were outside myself. And I just want to say the one thing that I could do for myself in that very moment was guided to me. I didn't know what to do because I was out of it. Like I was in my head, I was in my body, I didn't know what I was doing. I was at least 18 hours into no sleep. And I just got calm. I just sat there and I took a look around the Copenhagen airport and I started to consider, why was my heart racing? Why was I so angry? Why was I, and I'm a woman of God, so I just asked God, what am I supposed to do right now? What am I supposed to do? And I just got really calm. And what came was a decision. And the decision was X, Y, and Z, didn't matter. But the minute that decision came, everything was wiped away and I was moving into a new experience. And I was just walking through the airport and carrying on and going to where I was going to stay. And I don't know what it's worth, but I can never create an understanding for myself in a chaotic mind. I mean, I didn't physically sit down in the airport, but I just took the handle of my luggage. I just said, give me a second. Because I was believing the whole story. I was believing everything, like the money loss, I mean, you name it, I was out. And my heart was racing. And all of a sudden, I just breathed into my experience of where my GPS was. And I just landed in a calm moment. And so I don't know if that's any help, but that's what helped me in the moment. And funny that I just lit that, like, that was, it felt like an hour in that experience of it all and my thinking about it all. And in that very 1 minute, I could just say, okay, let's go. I know what I'm doing now. And that was it. That ended the whole thing. And there's a little bit more breathing around it. There's a little bit more, okay, now we're moving into what's next, and whatever that is. But I found myself able to lay it all down just by getting still. Are you good? Much love to you.
What I hear in that is that you can lean into thinking, or you can lean into the experience of the moment, and the awareness that you had of everything that was happening for you kind of brought you back up. That awareness. It's like a lifeguard.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing. Linda.
Hi there, everybody. Sherry, when you were talking about outcomes and how we can be kind of attached to the outcomes, and I was getting this sort of sense of how heavy that feels, how we create a really heavy experience, and how we can get so tied into all of those steps and those models and using our intellect to navigate our way towards that. And it just, something went ping in my head when you were saying that about the simplicity that Sid was always pointing to, about, and when you mentioned the one step, and then trusting and taking inspired action, using your intuition more. I just wanted to share that because that kind of hit me quite hard at that point. So thank you for that.
Thank you, Linda. I think moving from inspiration is like getting an upgrade of fuel. You know what I mean? It's like if you're moving from inspiration, hard work doesn't feel hard, or doing whatever it takes doesn't feel like sacrifice or pain. It's like there's a tailwind or something to what you're doing, and it's so enjoyable to follow an inspiration, because to me it kind of unwraps more inspiration and more inspiration and more inspiration. If you can just, I'll say, not take a discouragement seriously. Say something, we're going to fall into thinking, well, that should have worked out because I followed my intuition. I remember that one time I was like, I was really drawn to tell somebody something, and I was like, oh, well, it was not well received. And it was like, oh my God, I didn't even realize I was carrying a concept that if I follow my intuition, people will be happy about it. It's like, no, but it was right for me, but it wasn't like the angels sang and everybody was happy. And it was like, oh my gosh, but just follow what makes sense to you, really from a grounded, centered place. And that's the best anybody can do. To me, that's the best anybody can do, because you're moving from your own, I'll say, your own center of integrity and what you want your life to be about, and you move from that. We can't know how it's going to work out, but you're in alignment with what, the life you want to be living. And then more inspiration comes, and then more inspiration comes. Just don't get discouraged if everybody doesn't rejoice at your choices.
That's the thing, though. I think there's so much judgment. I judge myself if I fail and things don't work, which is all, more thinking and more pressure and everything like that. So it's sometimes hard just to take that leap of faith, almost to just trust the inspiration rather than my intellect to find the answers. That's the challenge I see. But I know when I'm doing the inspired bit because it feels so different. Yeah. So thank you for that. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, and just engage. Because, you know, our mind is making up how long something should take. Our mind makes up how long it should take to make an outline. Our mind makes up how long it should take to walk to the coffee shop. You know, our mind makes up all this stuff, and it's like, well, but in real time, it took me this long to get to the coffee shop. It's not a problem. I'm not I'm not a failing walker because it took me a different amount. But just kind of to get onto that game where all of those look like they are carved in stone deadlines and some sort of notion that there's a truth that something should take this long, and that's all made up too.
Yeah.
Sorry. The other thing that came to me the other day is like, why the rush?
Beautiful, Anna, beautiful.
And that's something that I have to really keep an internal eye on, because every time I'm rushing, I'm saying this is not enough. I'm negating the present moment. So I'm creating that dissatisfaction in my mind. So that's the other thing, and then I figured that the rush is because it's almost like it's circle, because it says I get destination focus, right? And then the present moment doesn't feel good. And I think that if I get there faster, I'm going to feel better. So what I'm looking for is feeling better.
Mm-hmm.
But I can have that right here, right now, not doing nothing. And that's the other thing that makes me insecure. When I look for something outside myself, insecurity will be a given, because outside I have no control. People can come and leave. But if I find the security within myself, that's resilience that you were talking at the beginning. That, whatever happens outside, I'll be okay. I'm okay. I'm safe. So that's, I think, the rush and the leaping of the thoughts that you were saying is a bit how I get into this tunnel vision kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so human. It's so human how the mind dangles a carrot in front of us and links our well-being back to our circumstances. Like, well, if you just got that job, you could relax around money if you just got that done. And it's so good to me in this understanding to just know, to see all the many ways that this illusion maker by a thought, is always kind of dangling a carrot saying, no, it's really not inside you. It's really outside of you. And I think that's one of the greatest gifts of this understanding is like, who didn't believe, their world would be better if it was more arranged to their liking?
That brings me to something that happened the other day. I don't know if any of you here think about, that this our little boxes here, are our own mind, and it's a window, and we look out, and everybody has a separate reality. But I was having a conversation with someone close to me, and we were talking about, well, what do you think about the way they're parenting? And we were talking about how, from the frame of someone at 80, looking at the frame of someone at 50, looking at the frame of someone at 30, that view of the way parenting is so very different. And oftentimes parents have a view of the way it should be, this place of the way it should be. So I'm speaking to this person and they're like, well, they should be more responsible. They should be acting more, I think they should go to cadet school so that they can get more regimented. And it was really cool because I could see that there was this place where, your children are not the representation of you. The way your kids have acted and been does not like the, the parents used to take on that place where, if your kids aren't successful, you, the parent, are a failure. And yet governing their own journey in their own way, right? And so we were having this conversation, and I was able to, within my pea brain of wisdom, share with this wise owl that, these are two different paths, and they're going in the same direction to the same destination, but they're going to look very different. And it's a navigation no matter what way we look at it. And that I walked out of that conversation thinking, wow, Kel, that was very neutral of you. Very, like, I was able to hold the conversation without having judgment on this person's view around it needs to look like this. And then realizing that, every individual is on their own journey. And this understanding has got me clearer and clearer on, we all have a frame of thinking, and if you're anything like me, you've got the bat ready, to bang on myself around, oh, you don't have it right, or who do you think you are, or but in that moment, it was just like, wow, this understanding is actually pointing me to see that we're all on journeys. We're all making a journey of our own, and our thinking is guiding us moment to moment, and it's going to all get us. We're all unbroken, perfectly wonderful human beings, whether we're in the regiment of the army or we're over here in a playful exploration of, yeah, maybe I don't think I need a job. I think I'm just going to stay living with you, Mom, and or whatever it is. And we don't know, I don't know what their thinking is, but it's their own.
Mm-hmm.
They're allowed to
Mm-hmm.
have it.
Mm-hmm.
They're allowed to have it.
Mm-hmm. And I'm kind of chuckling with what Anna said. Is like, gosh, how did we live for so long and not be in our life? We've lived in our head, but we haven't lived in life. And I just think I just think it's so funny. Like when you wake up to like, okay, wait a minute. We all know how this ends. Everybody does. I mean, not to sound fatalistic. We all know how it ends. So why on earth don't we just allow ourselves to do more enjoying of the moment to moment thing? Because if we're attached to outcome, you know how it ends. So what? What are you going to do in between? It's like there's so much life to be lived. There's so much exploration and mystery and opportunity, and none of it's rote.
Mm-hmm.
Unless we let our mind write it, nothing's rote.
No. Hi, Rick. Here's my buddy Rick from
Yep,
Chemainus.
from Shermanus.
Chemainus on Vancouver Island.
Yes, yes. We just about floated closer to you with all the water.
I know.
I could
You
actually feel
part of
the
that
island
storm.
lifting. But anyways, oh, now, thanks, Kelly.
Sure.
Drifted. Sherry, love your background, by the way.
Thank you.
Goes good with your blouse and everything.
Thank you.
Um, oh man, there was so much in what you just shared that kind of put me to raise my hand up, and about the, like in the whole conversation, kind of wrapping it up with the we don't want to get it right, or we don't want to get it wrong. There's something in us that's sort of saying, and this is all memory based, obviously, but it just seems like you're right. If death isn't inevitable, at least in this plane, why don't we do better? I mean, with given everything that we have out there, why aren't we awesomer, as Michael Neal would say? And it's sort of like there's something that we want to hang on to that says, well, if I take that path, then what is the rest of my life had meant up to that point? And what was clear to me, listening to everybody's conversation, I was out walking in sunshine, so I couldn't really engage, but I'm glad I made it back here. the is that that was my life and I was living it. I just didn't know it at the time. And, you know, and Kelly's story about sort of getting lost in her head in the airport, you know, the principles are always working, regardless of whether we're aware of it or not. And it was to me, it was pointing, her story was pointing towards the thought behind the thought, like the original, the you know, behind the thinking, behind, because the occurrence, the sudden occurrence that she needed to be in a quiet place is the principles in action. It's the guide there. It's that moment before. And then of course we tend to add more meaning and stuff to it. But you know, since you know, I've kind of had a bit of an awakening back in '79, but it wasn't until the three principles really solidified for me around, you know, this whole idea about the memory and how we do live through memory, but in reflection, it was all good, regardless of what was happening, because I am here today. And that is more validation than anything that it happened the way it was supposed to happen, kind of a thing, right? So anyways, thanks for the conversation, Kelly. Thanks for bringing Sherry to our world.
Beautiful moments, beautiful conversations. Thank you, Rick. I have a friend named William, but he's not in his chair. Oh, there he is. William from California.
Yeah, I love your opening statement, Sherry, of not letting your history get in your way and kill the mystery. Because I think that I'm more so intrigued lately of how much I live in the movie that I make about life. And I just am so fascinated that I see all these characters that I've played. And as I get more distance from those characters, I'm still playing them, but I'm more aware of them. And I see so many of them are like my parents. I personify them. And I happen to have some pretty nice parents, so I kind of don't mind hanging out as that parental image. And I spend a lot of time there. And I get a lot of reinforcement for doing that, which takes me out of being present in the moment. Then I think about your Kelly. I find that I enjoy the film, the movie that I play so often in. And maybe it takes something to motivate me to come on and be here now. And then I really come alive. And then I really enjoy it. But I don't stay there. And I realize now I can't stay there. The way I look at it, none of us stay there, because we just naturally are going to describe it and take us out of it. And so I go back and forth, back and forth. That's okay. The more I accept that. And I put myself if I've been in the airport, oh my God, 2 days, that means all the things I had. What am I going to do? Wow. Again, I wonder, as I get more and more familiar with me being in the movie that I see I live in, will I become more flexible as that director, that writer? Can I just okay? And then what really helps me, I see, is that allowing life to live me. I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge. I'm not in charge. Boy, I think I'm in charge. So I go back and forth, but I'm just enjoying this whole mishmash that it seems like my dance is getting easier between being in a moment and I've been playing in my movie. And I was with a bunch of tennis buddies last night, and I just was enjoying how fixed that some of them seem to be in their movies And I was just enjoying kind of in and out, and just enjoying the whole mix. So I just love this, and I really appreciate how you all feel so comfortable sharing your moments of now and this beautiful stories that you have. And I just marvel, Kelly, how in the world do you stay tuned in to so many people in such a feeling way without getting lost? Anyway, I don't have much more to say. I just wanted to join the crowd.
We're so happy to have you, William. Who else? Anybody else have stuff coming up? Things they want to share, stuff they've been looking at last week, this week, right now. Xander, love to hear from you.
Hello, Kelly, and everyone else. I've thoroughly enjoyed listening this evening. And I tell myself constantly that I have trouble listening. I watch a movie and put it on tomorrow evening, and I'm going to watch it again. I'm going to enjoy it because it's going to be like I've never seen it before. And this is the way I approach everything, right? Now, I'm trying to change things. No, it occurred to me this evening that I could do things a little differently. So what I approached this Zoom call this evening with two things in mind. Normally I'm listening for what is familiar, so that I can agree. Yeah. I heard something. Confirmation. But I very rarely listen for something new. This is just an observation of self. I very rarely listen for something new. I might come away with something new. I might not, but I very rarely listen specifically for that. My attention is drawn elsewhere. So tonight I approached this call with those two things in mind. And the one thing that I heard that was familiar was when I think it was, is it Cherry or Sherry?
Either one's good.
Yeah, okay. When Sherry was, or when the conversation turned to the, because I'm not sure if it was Sherry or not, but when you turn to the conversation turned to, we are always okay. That's, I used to say years ago, and before I ever even heard of the 3 principles, I used to say to people, you'll be okay. It'll be okay. You'll be okay good, or you'll be okay bad, but you'll be okay. and then I would explain to them, now what I mean by that is you'll either like the experience, okay bad, or you won't. Okay, good, okay, bad. Good being you like it, bad being you won't, but you'll be okay. And so that resonated with me in that way. And the thing that occurred to me when you were talking about insecurity, it occurred to me, now before I experienced, in fact, up until a few years before I heard of the 3 principles, I lived for years. My entire experience was insecurity. From the moment I got up in the morning and even probably while I was sleeping, never mind going to bed and getting up in the morning, I was just 24/7 insecure. That thankfully has mostly gone. It comes back the odd 5, 10, 15%. I still get it from time to time. But what occurred to me whilst that was being discussed was that every time I felt insecure, in fact, quite possibly we cannot experience insecurity without some sort of mental or psychological comparison. So I'm comparing myself with myself yesterday, or what I think people should think, or what I think people should, I don't know, experience with me, or I'm afraid of other people's comparisons and how I should be, and blah, blah, blah. And comparison is, I think, the word for me behind insecurity. So that's what I got out of the call. So I just thought I would share it.
You want to respond, Sherry? What do you?
Oh, I think you're telling the story for most human beings. You know, for most human beings. I don't know how we got so convinced at such a young age that either we weren't good enough for this life we'd been given, or that we didn't have what it took to be able to navigate this life. And it just seems, I don't know how we get such bad information, but I think you're definitely and definitely giving voice to many people's experience. And you know, if feeling insecure, we can really get to the fact that feeling insecure is not a problem. It's just going to be part of the ride. So what? You know, so what? Then you're like, okay, but so what? Back to your point, we're good. I'm good. I feel insecure. So what? I'm still good.
Yeah. I love what you said about looking for the familiar. You know, I think I often, my familiar was misery broods company. So I'd be looking for that place where, do you feel me? Do you feel my pain? I need to share my pain. And looking for those people who would commiserate and be in the room with me. And I think since the principles, maybe even a little bit before that, that just lifted. I was no longer looking for someone to be on side with my pain any longer, because I was getting sick and tired of my own sick and tiredness. And so the familiar, I love that you shared that, because it really brought it back for me that, I am looking for what's new in this conversation. What's new, and what haven't I seen? And, that the nuggets. And some of you may be familiar with other classes and rooms where, I used to write everything down. Oh, that's a good one. As soon as she said the history, and the mystery, I was like, oh my God, that's so good. Sherry's really good for really cute rhyming. She said, I got a hiccup in my giddy up.
Oh.
I just love that one too. Where we think, and get caught up, and we have hiccups in what would be moving us forward. And so, yeah, I used to write all of it down, but I realized that, when it comes to me naturally and it's mine, I don't need to write it down. It's just my own. I can just, so loving that you're pointing me in that direction, Xander. Thank you for that.
You know what else? It's just on Xander's point, what occurs to me too is, here we are going into the holidays. Everybody's going to be doing some sort of holiday. And Xander, I just love the idea about, okay, all these people that will be around at the holidays, it's what if I really opened my mind to what I don't know about these people, instead of what my mind just waiting to be validated on how impossible they are, or what a big mouth they are, how they control the situation. It's like, can you imagine how rich relationships would be if you just kind of went into all these situations that you have all this history, and just be open to what's not familiar, what do I see new, what do I hear new. It's just, you wouldn't just be in those deep grooves of what's wrong with everybody in the room. You just wouldn't be in those deep grooves, and you would subsequently have a much better holiday, because you're not just echoing something that you don't like about this person, or what something you made up about this person, whatever it might be.
Mm-hmm.
Every time you meet someone, when you say, how are you today? What I'm thinking, I don't know about anybody else, but what I'm thinking when I say, how are you today? I'm saying, who are you today?
That's great. That's great. That's great. Oh, how funny. That's great.
Beautiful. So, how's everybody feeling? I'm looking at all your smiley faces. Yeah. Yeah. Sherry, you have this way of, some of these people have been in this room for a while, and this is coming to a year end come in December. And it's
Wow.
been a rich year of conversation, and I'm so glad you were able to join us. And what I realize is that, I sit in these conversations, and there's certain times where I can just be myself, like today. Like I can just sit here and just I'm feeling like I'm BSing with everybody. It's just like, yeah, we're here for an hour and a half. Let's just get all together and have a conversation. And it has a lot to do with you and how you present yourself in such a natural way and how easy it is to speak with you and to share with what I feel is real-time conversations. We're not talking way up here in the ethereal, and it's you're bringing it, you're landing it for myself, and I don't know about everybody else, but it makes a difference to feeling comfortable and remove the thinking of what I think I need to be. So thank you for that. And Sherry's an artist, and a beautiful one at that. Hence the background drop in her Hollywood Square there. And she does a lot of beautiful creative things for people and exploring creativity and the thinking mind through art. Maybe you could share a little bit about what you do and let everybody in the room know. Even though you're in Texas, that doesn't mean we can't feel the love from the distance if we can't be there. Because I certainly know I wished I lived around the corner from you, because I'd take some of the classes you offer, but maybe you can let people know how you support people and bring people into
I don't know. I just totally believe whoever comes to my door was sent, and there must be something for us to explore together. So whether we do it through creativity, whether we do it through conversation, or whatever, it takes on a life of its own if you can just be with somebody and listen. And it takes on a life of its own. What would be most helpful? What would be most helpful? And I very much appreciate the opportunity to come and have a conversation in this group and see all these beautiful faces. It's wonderful. Thank you very much. Thanks for receiving me so beautifully. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. So there was this really cool thing that one of the speakers did last time, and I thought it was awesome. And I would love to, continue the small and meaningful moments. And it was, he asked everybody in the room to open up their mic and say hello and voice who they are. So I would love to do that so Sherry can hear who you are. And even if you don't have anything to say, you can just say hello. So let's see, who haven't we heard from? Mark.
Hello, Sherry. Hi, everyone. My name is Mark Harris. I'm from London, England. Great friend of Kelly's. Kelly's great mentor and everything. So yeah, hi, everyone.
Great to have you, Mark. Susan.
Oh, thank you, Kelly, for organizing this, and Sherry. Loved what you had to say. Like Xander, the familiar sort of caught my attention, and when you talked about never imagined this destination, of course my mind went right there, and the 3 Ps is really just giving me such a great outlook. And then Kelly, when you talked about you don't necessarily want to be with people anymore who are just in this commiserating and misery and stuff, and I read somewhere dwelling in the pain doesn't dispel the pain. So thank you for reminding me of that. And I love these meetings. I hope they'll continue into the new year. Yeah, nice to see everybody. Thank you.
Great to have you, Susan. Cecilia.
Yeah, my name's Cecilia. I come from Sweden. Thank you very much for this conversation. And it was beautiful to hear you too, Kelly, speaking together. I love that.
Thanks.
And I will speak soon in the community. And the thing that I want to bring up is just that you talked about how we learn when we are little about how it works in the mind, and how wrong it goes when we learn this. Yeah. Yeah.
I get it. I hear you. I see you too. Thanks for coming. Mika.
Thanks.
Hi. True confessions. I'm bit on Zoom overload, so Zoom fatigue. So I just needed to kind of be moving around and sort of taking it in. After doing the weekend intensive with Michael Neal and then a morning call with him as well this morning on living a guided life, I was just like, oh, I need a break.
I know. I'm so glad you're here.
So just honoring that need. But yeah, it was a lovely conversation. I'm also a painter, and in this process of sort of combining the, what I'm building as a coach and my art. So when I saw that this, included someone who was both creative and in the 3P world, I was like, oh, cool. And one thing I'm definitely taking with me today is don't let your history kill your mystery. I love that line. That's like, that's the little takeaway that's going to be lingering in my brain, no doubt, and heart.
Love it.
So thank you for today.
Thanks for coming all the way from California. Do I have that right? No.
Yep, Northern California.
Okay, good. Yeah, I that's my memory. See, William, I don't remember it all. Pamela.
Hey, good morning. I'm in North Vancouver. I'm part of Kelly's community for quite a while now. A couple of things that dropped in for me today is being a person who is trying to make a big major career shift. I rewrote Don't Let Your History Destroy Your Mystery to embrace your history and the mystery. I recognize I'm born into a story that has already and is being told. And that's very compelling to break away from that. So I'm taking away, as I try and envisage my future, what is the mystery letting you consider? I'm going to run with that because it's been hard for me, and I appreciated what Rick said very much about, what was my life before the 3Ps or before awakening or whatever you want to call the moment where you realize there's something different for you. And to just honor and validate that my life up to this point is exactly as the way it should have been and was joyful and meaningful, just as much as what I might move forward into.
Thanks, Pam. I got Barbara Jones.
Hi, Sherry and Kelly, thank you very much for being here and bringing this up. And for me, it was, of course, about the personal history, destroying your mystery of life. That's really hitting home also. And what came up for me was something that was said to me quite a while ago was, things don't always look the way you think. And I thought, wow, that just opens up everything. And it's like, okay, so I need to just take life one day at a time and stop overthinking and stop getting so much in my head. And just this whole conversation has just made me realize that, yeah, it's time to calm down and just live. So thank you.
Thanks, Barbara. Annette.
I'm Annette from Norway, from Oslo. And what a beautiful conversation. And I loved, as you said, Kelly, with the ability to just being you and how alive you are as well, and just hilarious. And I love the story from the airport. about how your wisdom just guided you to really slow down and to take a next step. And there has just been so many beautiful nuggets of wisdom throughout this conversation that I feel like I needed to hear. There were beautiful reminders for me in a process where I'm going through a little bit of circumstances that could easily throw me down a rabbit hole of a lot of insecure thinking. And so it was a perfect timing to listen to the conversation today and just show up and take the next step and not fall for all my even when I fall into my insecure thinking, just remind myself to just be gentle with myself and take a next step and show up and not have to figure out everything. So it's been wonderful to be here tonight in Norway. It's in the evening. So thank you, all of you, so much, and especially you, Kelly and Sherry. Thank you.
Thank you. Vera, are you there, my girl? There she is.
I am. Hi.
Hi, beautiful.
Hello. I really enjoyed the conversation from being creative, cooking soup, big pile of veggie soup, which I will offer to people who are sick around here. Yeah, loved it. And what's resonated with me was this building a life around the feeling I want to live in. That I heard that with such simplicity. It's really that easy. I like that. Mm-hmm. So that's still purring in me. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Great to see you. Thomas, can you speak, Thomas? He might be in a place. Oh, can he speak?
Hi, Kelly. Hi, Sherry. It's a pleasure to be here, and I was sad to miss most of, if not the entire conversation, with a slight time clash. However, I know Kelly records, so I'll be delighted to come in and look a little bit later. Similar to Mika, I'm just coming out of a 3-day intensive, not with Michael Neal, with Ken Manning, and so I'm a bit of I'm letting things land and letting things integrate like that. But Robin Turbot describes it as, after an intensive, the garbage truck of the mind can deposit the garbage on the street to be cleaned away. I feel a bit like that. All the garbage is flowing through the canal of the mind and is getting ready for disposal, hopefully recycling. But I look forward to seeing your talk later, and it's always a pleasure to be in the Kind Mind community.
We love having you. Thanks for coming. Rick, any last words, my friend?
I can't follow Thomas.
Sherry, these two are like my brothers, my brothers from another mother, these two.
I mean, Sherry, Sid says so many different things, but the one thing that I keep referring back to as the mic drop is go live your life. Mm-hmm. Just go live your life.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Sander, last but certainly not least, and then we'll go to Judy.
I don't know much. I really don't have anything to add. Hello, and yeah, it's always good. I just love the Three Principles. I love the Three Principles community. I love everybody that I've met in it. Maybe one or two. No, seriously. I love the Three Principles conversation. I just cannot get enough of it. So it's always a pleasure to be part of that conversation. It's just always gets me.
We love having you. Jude, my girlfriend Judy.
Hi, I want to say thank you to Sherry and Kelly. It's been great being here. And I just want to agree with the last guy when he made me laugh. He says, not how are you today, but who are we today? And like, but it just, there was lots of great little nuggets. It's true. And I just, when I think it was Sherry that said, you know what, the inevitable is coming. We all know what the inevitable is. Why aren't we all having a better time? Like, why aren't we making it more awesome while we're here? Yeah, I enjoyed being here. Thank you so much.
Exactly. Sometimes I have to say Jude's an airline student, so she's been flying around to Mexico and seeing, like, she gets to see the world. Talk about awesomeness. While we're in the storms, although she was home for the storm. She was home for the storm.
I counted the flight that she missed. I was working that flight and she missed it. It was like, that was not meant to be, I think.
That's something else. I learned afterwards, after being in that airport, that my dear friend Judy, who works on the airlines, was on that airline waiting for me to receive me to come home. And the whole flight had, now I didn't learn that till after, which is a good thing. But yeah, she was waiting, and you know, there's always opportunities to have free champagne or extra food when your great girlfriend works in first class, right? So nothing like, you know, more salt in the wound as I receive. But yeah, those are the beautiful things that we don't know that are waiting for us when we're open. Sherry, I want definitely some last parting words, any words of wisdom for us all before we say goodbye.
Gosh, no, I just really want to express my appreciation, Kelly, for creating a format where people can come together and just have conversations about what seems to be touching something deep inside each and every one of us. And even if we don't know what's getting touched, we know we're drawn to come to these conversations. And thank you for holding space and creating a place for that to happen. It's been wonderful to be with you all.
Well, I just love that you're here. And as you know, everybody, these are the labors of love that all of the speakers are doing for sharing the message of the principles, and Sherry's an exceptional one at the same time too. So thank you for your wisdom, your hope, your guidance. And everybody can come on the mic and say goodbye. And I love you all.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Happy holidays.
Thank you.
Till next week, everybody, we have Kathy Casey.
Oh, fabulous.
Yes. Bye for now, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.